Live resin is produced in a very similar fashion to BHO, but with fresh, flash-frozen bud, as opposed to bud that has been dried and cured. The cryogenic freezing of fresh and non-dried cannabis blossoms helps to extract a wider range of cannabinoids and terpenes. Caviar is made in the same process as high terpene full spectrum extract, except what makes caviar different is that during the purging process, terpenes are actively captured through a sophisticated method of sub-zero terpene trapping. These valuable terpenes are then reintroduced into the mixture, breaking down the crystals to the point where they are small balls of caviar. Terp Sauce is a cannabis extract with a sticky, liquid consistency. Sauce extractions contain high levels of terpenes and are typically the most flavorful of extracts. Sauce is typically produced utilizing a closed-loop system and allowing the resulting solution to settle under various pressures and temperatures. Shatter is the solidified, hardest form of solvent-based extract, earning its nickname because of its transparency and ability to shatter like glass. Butter is a cannabis concentrate with a soft, solid consistency, similar to a stick of butter. Butter is one of many concentrate textures and appears in rosin and many solvent-based extractions. Sugar wax is a marijuana concentrate with a full flavor and slightly grainy texture. It is a little less messy than some of the other types of concentrates, as it's a bit thicker and not quite as sticky. Many people prefer sugar wax for its rich, more complex flavor profile. Distillate is a cannabis extract in which the final product has been systematically stripped of all materials and compounds except one specific cannabinoid, in this case THC. For this video, I'm placing all of the concentrates into Dram vials so that you can see them equally in this experiment. You can find a link to purchase these vials and other items used in the video in the description below. I took each concentrate and placed them into their respective vials. The sugar wax was a little more stubborn to get in the vial. I could have made these concentrates in their respective glass containers that they came in, but I wanted to keep everything consistent for the video, so I transferred everything into the vials. I heated the top edges of the vials using a torch so that nothing would stick when I put the lids on. The live resin I just scooped up and let drip right into the vial. The caviar was one of the easiest ones to scrape up. It remained one solid consistency. I felt bad melting down the THC A diamonds as they put so much effort scientifically into making these, but that's what you gotta do to make the vape carts. Otherwise, this THC A crystals here will just stick to the sides of the cart. The Terp Sauce was by far the runniest of all of them. It also had some THC A crystals that stuck to the top of the lid. The butter was pretty easy to get into the vial. It was a little sticky, but it pretty much just dropped right in. With the distillate, I simply just pushed it out of the syringe into the vial. I placed each of the vials except the distillate vial onto the hot plate to begin decarbing. The reason I'm decarbing is to convert the THCA into THC so that it does not recrystallize on the inside of the vape carts. Distillate is already fully converted to THC through the process of distillation, so you don't need to decarb distillate. To remove any concentrate that might be stuck to the sides of the vials, I just applied a light torching to them, and that melted it down. I watched each vial and removed them from the heat as they began to finish decarbing. The butter took 22 minutes to decarb, the live resin 25 minutes, the caviar took 30 minutes, the terp sauce took 32 minutes, the sugar wax took 39 minutes, and the shatter took 53 minutes to complete decarbing. The hot plate was heated to 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and the vials were at 230 degrees Fahrenheit when I pulled them off the hot plate and measured the internal temperature of the concentrate. I then added terpenes to the shatter, butter, and distillate. I added a 10% ratio of terpenes to the shatter and a 10% ratio to the butter, as well as a 3% ratio to the distillate. The terpenes were added to the shatter and butter so that it would flow more in the vape carts, and the 3% ratio was added to the distillate just for flavoring. The hot plate is heated to about 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Looked like the shatter was bubbling up with the terpenes quite a bit, so I put that on the hot plate and did it last. So in the meantime, I start with number 2, the sugar wax. And so I'm just pulling the concentrate out of each of the vials so I can insert them into their respective vape cartridges. When inserting your THC vape oil into the vape cartridge, it's good to push your needle all the way to the bottom so that it helps it push down and you don't have an issue with overflowing. The concentrate can be quite viscous, and if you don't start from the bottom, you might have difficulty getting it all into the syringe. I let each of the carts settle for about an hour, but there was an air bubble trapped on the bottom of a few of them. So to remove those, I just used a blow dryer and heated it for a small bit of time. That allowed the oil to heat up and the air bubble to escape from the bottom of the vape cart. And here's a time lapse showing how slow the bubbles are moving. First, I let them sit for an hour and 10 minutes before flipping them over for a 2-hour period. I then flip them back over for 4 hours. And here you can see how little movement is occurring during this time. Some of them don't move at all, yet all of these vape carts still function in the end. So long as they're able to wick the coil, when you heat up the cart, it will heat up the area surrounding the coil, which will melt the concentrate and allow it to flow in. Alright, time to test them out. Starting with number 1, that's the Shatter. Now this one is the thickest looking of them all. I added 10% terpenes, but seems that it wasn't quite enough. Shatter one tastes alright. Not the thickest clouds, but it is because it is quite thick oil still in there. So it's going to take some time for it to be able to re-soak each coil. I'd say you probably want to wait like 10 seconds between hoots if you got your oil this thick. Alright, time to try out number 2, the sugar wax. Tastes pretty good. A bit thicker clouds. Now with the sugar wax, I thought I'd have to add in some terpenes, but it turns out the sugar wax had enough terpenes in it already that it melted down quite good when I decarbed it. Up next is number 3, it's live resin. The live resin tastes the most like straight flour. It's really good. Up next, number 4 is Caviar. Up next, number 4 is Caviar. This one has a rich taste, almost like edibles. I think this one's my favorite so far, the Caviar. Up next is Terp Sauce. This one was the terpiest of all of them by far. And I would recommend, if using any of these, to use Terp Sauce if you're able to get it. It is completely clear and viscous and even more runny than the Distillate. Very floral profile, skunky, tastes just like the bud. This might be my new favorite of the batch though. Up next, number 6, which is the butter. Now the butter, I had to add about 10% terpenes, and we'll see how this one works. A distinct taste of the John Brown terpene profile. Kind of overpowers the natural flavor that the butter might have had, which is a shame, but I'm a big fan of my terpene profile, so not that bad. Pretty good. Nice, smooth, thick hit. And for the final test, the Distillate. Now this should taste the same as the butter, I imagine, as it was flavored with the terpenes as well. But I only used a 3% ratio of the John Brown terpenes, so this one should have a less distinct flavor. Yeah, just a hint of the John Brown